What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. And on today's video we're going to be talking about the long run. And I know for a lot of you, the long run every week is sacred, right? There's a reason we call it the Church of the Sunday long run. But what do you think about the long run being overrated? Would you ever give it up? What if I told you it was more healthy to not do one single long run? Well, let's get into it. Thanks for sticking through that intro. Now, I did come across an article in Canadian Running magazine. This article is titled, "Are Long Runs Overrated?" So my question is, are they overrated? Now, I know a lot of you really like your long runs, right? There's something about them where we just go out there and we push ourselves, and there's just something that feels good about being out there for a long time, pounding the pavement, putting in the work, especially if you're training for a longer event. So a half marathon, a marathon, an ultra marathon. But this Canadian Running magazine article does say that a growing body of evidence suggests that the long run might not be necessary. And of course, I will be giving you my opinion. I mean, I'm sitting here making this video, so you will hear my opinion. But the main thing for me is that I want to hear your opinion. I want to know what you think. If it turned out that you didn't have to do a long run in order to get the same gains, would you still do it? And I'm willing to bet that a lot of you probably would. So the main thing that goes against the long run is bone health. At least from what I found, the main thing, or at least from what I've seen in this article that I'm citing to make this video, the main problem with long runs is bone health. And of course, I mean, we all know this, right? This part is common knowledge, is that we have strong bones because we're runners, because by the very nature of running, it's an impact activity. And by having that impact on our body, our bones are just getting stronger, right? Of course, there is something a bit funny with all us runners getting stress fractures. And I don't mean, you're probably going to tell me, Matt, I've never had a stress fracture. But as a whole, runners tend to get stress fractures. I know I have had 4 in my running career. Of course, again, that was back when I probably wasn't following the best training practices that I could. But setting me aside, I think runners, we generally get stress fractures, or it's a very common injury to get. And stress fractures, as you know, are an overuse injury. They are a result of pounding the pavement for hours and hours and hours and not giving your body time to recover. Now, bones are very similar to muscles in that they can grow and they can shrink. When you load them, as we do with running, we load them with impact and they get stronger, they get bigger. And if you remove that load, then over time they can shrink. And that, as you know, is osteopenia and osteoporosis once it gets to a certain point. Now, a problem that us runners can actually run into is that too much consistent stress on your bones tends to desensitize them, right? So in the beginning, they are liking the load. They're soaking it all up, they're getting stronger, they're making you better, but it comes to a certain point, your bones stop liking that load. They stop responding to it. They get desensitized. What that means is that your bones have a finite amount of improvement that they can get. They can only get so strong. And once you go past that point, then any amount of running that you do, once your bones are the strongest that they can get, is not going to be making them any stronger. In fact, it could be making them less strong. So on a graph, think of an inverted U. You get to the top and we've been improving all the way, and we do any more, then the benefit starts to come down. Now, the good news, according to some studies, and of course there are links to these studies in the article that I will place a link to in the show notes below. But according to some studies, that if you rest your bones for 4 to 8 hours, they magically become resensitized. I mean, it's not magic, is it? But you know what I mean. Seems like magic. In this part, this is where the whole skepticism for the long run, this actually is where it takes root. Like, why would you do something that is going to desensitize your bones and possibly bring on an injury when you can still get the same load as you would on a long run? You just separate it out into 2 kind of medium long runs. So let's say you run in the morning, you take a break, you go out in the afternoon, you knock out the other half, your bones have become resensitized by the afternoon run, and you will be strengthening them, I suppose, even further. Or at least they've become resensitized so they are not going to break on you. I don't know if that's true. I'm not a doctor, but that's just me reading into it. There has to be some reason why your bones need to be resensitized so you can go out and run again. Now, the article does say that it becomes clear with this evidence that long runs are going to be pretty hard on your bones, and that you can actually avoid that stress on your bones, you know, the negative stress, by separating those long runs into 2 different runs. The article also says that this is why it's important to rest after a marathon. But I don't know if you're anything like me, but after I run a marathon, like, my bones are the last thing on my mind. It's all that soft tissue that's wrapped around the bones that seems to be giving me the most trouble. And that is really why I need to rest after a marathon. But I suppose maybe it's just my soft tissue kind of giving me a warning so I don't go out and run and then break a bone. So obviously by now you've heard of it. A lot of runners, or not a lot, I don't even know how many it would be, but some runners, let's just say some runners break their long run up into 2 runs in the day. They have a couple hours off in the middle, which is effectively letting their bones resensitize. and then they knock out the second run. And cumulatively, they are getting the same amount of impact, the same amount of training as they would if they did one long run. Now, you might think, well, Matt, that sounds crazy. There's a lot of other reasons that we do a long run. But get this, in 2012, there was a study on mice. I know some of you are going to have a hard time relating a study done on mice to humans, but that's all I have. So this is the study. So there were a couple groups of mice. One group of mice did 3 10-minute runs throughout the day. The other group of mice did 1 30-minute run throughout the day. And wouldn't you know it, the group that had the 3 10-minute runs a day, they had the same adaptations as the group that did 1 30-minute run. Well, that's enough for me. I'm just going to do lots of little runs. I'm totally kidding. But a couple years ago, Camille Herron actually posted on X that she only does 1 or 2 long runs a month. And I'll put that tweet. What is it now that Twitter is X? What do you call a tweet? I don't know, but that's beside the point. I'm going to put it up on your screen so you can see what Camille Herron actually said. You know, she says that she only does an 18 to 22 mile run a couple times a month, which means that she's not doing back-to-back long runs. She's not doing a long run every week. And if for some reason you don't know who Camille Herron is, I definitely encourage you to look her up. She's a superstar in the running world. She kind of knows what she's talking about. Maybe even if she doesn't know what she's talking about, she's had huge success. So she definitely gives the impression that she knows what she's talking about. But obviously, this also brings up another question. Camille Herron is an ultra runner extraordinaire, right? She might be a little different from you and me. Also, mice. There could be some differences between them and us. So what does this mean for the normal runner? Well, I think it's important to point out that it doesn't mean that you don't have to do a long run. I think the point is that it means that you may not have to do as many long runs as you would normally do. Does that make sense? I don't think it's just ruling out the long run altogether, especially if you are training for a long distance event like the marathon. You may not have to do one every single week. Now, are you willing to take that chance? Drop a comment and let me know. Now, there are a lot of other reasons to actually go out and do a long run if you are training for a marathon or an ultra marathon. And primarily, I guess it builds endurance. Like, let's say I want to run 20 miles and I go out and I run 10 miles in the morning, then I come home and I sit around all day, I put my feet up, maybe have a massage, put on my massage boots, right? So by the time the afternoon comes, I'm actually feeling pretty good. Then I go out and I run another 10 miles. I just don't think that's going to have the same effect, right? I'm not building the same mental toughness or endurance as I would by doing 1 20-mile long run. And for those of you that do run marathons and run distances like that, then you're going to know what I'm talking about. A 10-mile run is relatively easy, which it makes me cringe to actually say something like that if you are not someone that can go out and easily run 10 miles. But for those of you that do run marathons, running 10 miles in and of itself is not especially challenging, especially if you're going very easy. But running 20 miles is often challenging, definitely more challenging than a 10-mile run. So yeah, we've got the endurance, we've got the mental toughness that you want to develop by doing those super long runs. And if we put a break in the middle between our runs, then we are foregoing that physical adaptation, that physical resilience that comes with running for a long time. And of course, you know, when most of us run a marathon, we are not going to stop halfway through and take a 4 to 8 hour break. We're probably going to be doing it in one shot. So the training aspect is definitely something to consider. But I still stand by what this article says, or at least it kind of makes sense to me. Like, I don't have to do a long run every single week. And actually for me personally, just because of my work schedule, I have found it very difficult to do a long run every single week. So when I'm in training for a marathon, I do tend to find that doing one long run every 2 weeks works out a lot better for my schedule. And if it works out a lot better for my schedule, it makes me happier, I'm less stressed. It may not be optimum, but it's what I can do. And then I will throw in like a medium long run, like on the down week. Now, I do just want to say that I have been talking about the marathon distance. So we've been talking about super long runs. So, you know, the 18 to 22 miles, like Camille said in that tweet. But a long run is not a distance, right? A long run is not a firm concept. It's relative. A long run is long if it's long for you. So don't feel bad if you are not running those kind of distances. If you are going out and you're running a long run of 3 miles, well, the exact same thing is going to apply to you, right? It's still difficult. If we're running longer than we usually run, that's a long run. So guys, now I want to hear from you. I would like you, if you have made it till this point in the video, I want you to drop the bone emoji. It's like a little bone, like a textbook bone that you see a dog running around cartoons with it in their mouth, right? That's the emoji that I want you to put in the comments just to let me know that you've made it to this point in the video. But for now, it's Matt B. This has been a video on the long run, and you know, is there any point to it? But for now, be kind, be happy, run well. See you in a couple of days.